Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Tidal Flooding Talk. I'm meteorologist Joe Martucci. We are here with the New Jersey Coastal Coalition in conjunction with our partners at Tri-X 57. We are in our last month of climatological winter. This is our February 3rd episode. And it feels like winter's been going I'm cool with the pace of winter. I mean, it's slow enough where I'm still like, we got some more snowstorms maybe on the horizon, and I've already seen some snow, so I'm pretty good. Where are you at?
I'm the same way. I mean, it's nice when you don't have to wait for it, and December comes right out of the bat with some snow and some cold. Sometimes you're waiting till February for the first snows or the first big snows. So I like it. I like the January thaw, the break in between. I'm all for February snow. I love an early spring. Groundhog Day yesterday. We'll see if the groundhog was right or not. But I'm hoping for one or two good February snowstorms to kind of put a cap on the winter.
Okay. Yeah. And Palma, speaking of early spring, this was a good thought, Palma. This is going to be your first. Well, I don't know about your first because I don't know where you lived your whole life, but I would say your first spring in a long time where you're not immediately next to the ocean and you don't have that cold, like April, like 46-degree day. You're going to get some warmth where you are.
Yeah, it's funny living out here now in Egg Harbor Township. I have really appreciated the winter a lot more than I had in the past. Like, I feel it's got that like cozy, woodsy vibe, and I'm all for it.
Fine. Yeah. Well, Dan and I at least are going to hope for another snowstorm. We'll see if Matt Vonderhayden is. Matt is the business administrator for Stafford Township in Ocean County. Really good friend of the coalition, helps us out tremendously. He's when we write the book on the New Jersey Coastal Coalition, Matt will have a section dedicated to him there. Just the question is, Matt, who's going to write that book on the New Jersey Coastal Coalition?
Oh, I think me and you were going to write it, Joe.
Okay. All right, good. Good retirement project.
I think, the Coastal Coalition has done a lot of good work. And like you said, anytime we can assist, whether it's grant applications or working together on apps, they do a phenomenal job of bringing in other municipalities and creating those connections. So it's it's a privilege to serve. And I think, you get out of it as much as you put into it. So happy to help.
Yeah, absolutely. So here's my first question. Coastal Coalition related, but just kind of a burning question I've had. When Stafford, like we know Stafford, we're here, but growing up, I didn't know Stafford, but I knew Manahawkin, which was part of Stafford. And as so ingrained with the town, why that is? Like, why is like Manahawkin always like the popular name for Stafford and not Stafford?
I think just the way the town is developed, Joe, Stafford Township as I'm the township administrator, director of water and sewer. There's so many sections of it. You have Ocean Acres, you have Warren Grove, you have Stafford Park, you have the downtown area, which is mainly what people think is Manahawkin. You have Beach Haven West, Mud City. We have two islands, Bonnet Island and Cedar Bonnet Island, the Mayetta section. Depending on where you live in those different sections, you might get a different response. And Stafford Township, itself essentially encompasses all those areas. So I understand what you're saying. As the administrator, I'll get people that go, oh, Manahawkin, kind of that, putting two and two together. But no, definitely, it's a large municipality. It's got a lot of different aspects because on one side of the parkway, we deal a lot with the Pinelands Commission. On the other side of the parkway, we're dealing with CAFRA rules. So a quarter of the town's in the flood zone. The other parts don't have to worry about it as much, but we have to worry about forest fires like we saw this past year with the Jones Fire that was just north of us in Waretown and Barnegat and Lacey. So that's it's always unique experience and a lot of different things we got going on.
Yeah, and I think, you bring up a great point, and I think Stafford is, one of just a few towns that have to deal with this forest fire threat that's a real concern, and tidal flooding, and the concerns from there. How do you balance that out? And the follow-up to that is how you've been such a great help and champion for the Coastal Coalition. How do you keep your at least some focus on the Coastal Coalition when you're dealing with so many different let's say, weather hazards?
I think as a part of that, part of it is connecting the puzzle. Like as an administrator, part of what I love doing my job because it connects all these different things: emergency management, the weather effects, how we plan for resiliency. When you have when you have an event like this past year, we had to open up the shelter. Part of that is having a good network with the corresponding municipalities, having a good relationships with the state, and being there to help people, right? At the end of the day, we're here to help people. We're here to make the communities a better place, and we do that by serving. So it's really a passion, and I think it's that connection. That's the fun part to me is like, hey, how do all these things intersect? And then how do I figure out how to make it better for the community that I'm serving?
Yeah, I think go ahead, Sam. I think a lot of people don't realize how many different people or departments are involved when you're planning like this. And can you expand on what you were just saying? Like, how do you get everyone to get together to come up with resiliency efforts and, emergency management, all of that?
And part of it is, Palma, being the leader of the organization. I'm in a position where I can make sure that the right people are at the table. So, like those interested parties, being able to identify them up front. And then, we may be going along in the process and go, hey, maybe we left somebody out. We got to incorporate them or develop a new relationship with them. I also wear a number of hats for the township. So I'm the co-emergency management coordinator. I'm my CEM license. I'm the CRS coordinator for the community rating system. I run projects for the township. So, when you spend that amount of time and make those connections, it's idea. You need that kind of lead person to go, okay, hey, we need the fire department involved in this. Hey, we need the emergency management council. And then you become essentially the quarterback. Okay, throw the ball to this one and let's get them into the huddle, right? And then you just continue to build those relationships. And then, part of it is getting those people together on a regular basis. So like emergency management, we have 2 meetings a year where we pull everybody together, even if we don't have an event, and we go through our plans, we go through our SOPs, and then we run an exercise every year. That way it pulls everybody together. That way, when we show up to the event, we're not going, oh, hey, who's Joe? Hey, who's Dan? Who's Palma? We all know each other. We know what we're going to do. And even if we have to adjust based off the event, we have a working relationship already built.
Matt, what's the learning curve like going from one township to another? Because many townships like along the shore, southern and central New Jersey, share a lot in common, but as you alluded to earlier, are a little different as well. So you've been in Stafford Township 7 years, and you moved a little farther north up the Jersey Shore. So what are the similarities and differences in that learning curve? As you learn a new township.
It's really learning the different people. I teach for Villanova, Dan, effective city management. It's a master's class, and one of the things that I did we go through is the first 100 days as an administrator. You're putting so much time into that community to go out and meet with the civic associations, the homeowners associations, the fire departments, the EMS. You're spending that time to get to know people because you can't just, there's general functions of government that we have to do, right? We have to pick up trash, we have to provide policing services, right? We're looking to make sure that we run the town for those functions that are set up for it. That's the basis for what we do. The things that we have to get involved in to make the community better, you have to go out and utilize those resources, right? The resources are the public. So each community, the public's going to be a little bit different, and they may have different interests or things that they want to see happen in that community. You've got the governing body who you serve, so you have to get to know them and what they see as that vision for the community, and you're helping to set that vision by doing the research, doing the work so they can make informed decisions. But it's also your staff, right? Your staff are the ones that know those inner functions of the fire official is going to know what we need to do on the fire end. The public works superintendent or director is going to know, like, hey, these are the things that we need to put in place for public works. Your chief of police, they're going to know how to, what we need to do for public safety. You need to get to know those individuals and find out how they see it, how their departments are functioning, So you can take all that information, the stuff you get from staff, the public, the governing body, and then you become the person that starts to form that vision for what that community is. And each community you go to, it's going to be a little bit different, right? We all have to meet those federal and state and local laws that we have to hold up to, but each one may have, municipal laws through township code. They're going to be a little bit different because each municipality, has the ability to work within those rules that they can set. So you need to get to, one of the first things you do is you start going through the township code to learn those rules. And then that helps you affect, okay, maybe those rules need to be changed over the course of time based off of new things that come up. That's just spending the time to do it and really getting to know people.
Awesome. We're going to take our first break here. We'll come back with Matt here on Tidal Flood.
Welcome back to this week's Tidal Flooding Talk, where we're focusing on one township along the Jersey Shore, Stafford Township. Our guest Matt joins us along with my co-host Palma and Joe. Matt, let's talk about where Stafford Township is now, and more important, our vision for the future that you're working on as well.
Awesome. Thank you, Dan. So yeah, I think, we mentioned it in the first couple questions. Part of going into a community and getting to learn it is ultimately you have to come up with a vision for what that is for the future. So when I started here in Stafford Township in 2019, there were issues with stormwater, there were issues with the lagoon, and so we had to come up with different plans. One of the ways that I found to be successful is if I have a plan that incorporates the information we get from the public, the information we get from the staff, and the vision that the governing body is setting, that helps form what we put down in written plans, but also helps us go after grant funds. So I'll run through a few slides here. You can see there's different areas where we needed to spend time to put stormwater pipes in to be able to convey water off the roadways that were flood zones, right? So some of those pipes were being taken care of. We have great staff here at Stafford Township. They've been able to come up with plans that we've been able to develop to make sure that we're taking care of that stormwater system properly. By doing that, that's helped get a lot of the water off. But also we've been able to obtain grant funds. So I just pulled up a slide. This is a project we're working on with Forsyth Refuge. This is a resiliency project. We're actually going to rebuild part of Forsyth. That's what the red and yellow area is. The DEP funded this project, is almost $5 million. And we're going to utilize dredge spoils that have clogged up the lagoon system in the Beach Haven West section of Stafford Township to rebuild this area. The reason why this is important for resiliency, because that area where it's red and orange and yellow that's no longer there, if we see floods like we did in Hurricane Sandy, that berm is going to help dissipate any wave action that back during Sandy that the homes on that coast of Beach Haven West would have seen. We also are fortunate enough, we just found out a few weeks ago that we're receiving another $5 million that's going to help restore even back further into that. If you go west of that picture, again, working with Forsyth and DEP. DEP has been a huge partner in this. They've actually helped fund planning studies and work with us to come up with some of those plans that we have. And they've been an awesome partner in this. Part of this, with my water and sewer hat, we also had a failing sewer system. So when I started here in 19, we had sewer systems that were from the 1950s that needed to be replaced. We came up with a plan for that. Before I started doing this work, I was a chemist, so I knew that the state tests the waterways for fecal matter, and they became a partner as well through the DEP Water Quality Division. This is one of our phases, phase 5. We've actually partnered with DEP and the New Jersey Infrastructure Bank we've been receiving principal forgiveness funding. So those are essentially grants to be able to do more of the sewer work. And that's important. This is a project that we're currently doing. This was a $2.5 million grant we got. The reason why that's important is these are some of those maps. So you'll see this is just north of Stafford. All those red dots are hits of fecal matter that the DEP is, collecting on the water data of the coast. Well, what we observed over time was when we started this project in 2019, before we started the project, this area, which is Beach Haven West, and this is the section of the township that, that's the border of the municipality, was filled with red as well. Well, ever since we started doing these sewer projects, we've cleaned the bay. We're from what DP tells me, the only municipality in the last 23 years that's cleaned up a waterway of this magnitude. It's about 186 acres of bay. That's what planning gets you. The other thing we do is we go after a lot of grants. So this is a project we just replaced a water and sewer system. This was a $2.7 million grant we got from the federal government. We also look at all our pipes. This is what it looks like on the inside of a pipe. The pipes hadn't been looked at internally for a long time, and we have great water and sewer staff. They've been able, with contractors' help, to be able to replace a lot of the things in-house of lines that may have infiltration, and infiltration adds to how much we pay for our water and how we process it. The other thing we do is, I mentioned we involve the community. This is our mayor over here, Robert Henkin. We go out into the community and do workshops on a regular basis. That helps inform people, educate them, but also allows them to provide input. We do cleanups on a regular basis. This is us cleaning up the marshes, for creating a better environment by infrastructure projects that we're doing. We also want to make sure it's clean. From a stormwater perspective, we have relationships with Save Barnegat Bay, with Rutgers Co-op. We go out into the community and we do rain barrel workshops. We usually do at least one or two a year. This is a picture of a few of those. We have a great school in the township, Mates. We work with them on protecting the terrapins. So this is a sign project that they do. We also try to promote a healthy community. We're at the top level. The Mayor's Wellness Campaign is listed as a healthy town. We've received that a few years in a row. So it's also making sure that the community knows, like if we're going to create a healthy environment, we want to promote a healthy living. And we do that through the Mayor's Wellness Campaign. We also do it through Sustainable Jersey, which we're silver certified in. And it's, looking for opportunities. We were able to get a donated boat that our police department now uses to help monitor the waterways for any emergencies. That helps protect the Forsyth Refuge. That helps protect the environment, because if somebody's doing something on the water, we now have access to it. We also work with partners. We do internships. These are 3 young ladies that we were able to do internships for. The township didn't pay anything for it. They came and learned from my office, but also we got work products out of them. So the young lady on the right wrote a grant. We put a tide gauge in with a Sustainable Jersey grant for $5,000. We're also, I mentioned, we're in the community rating system. We're class 5, so that's a 25% reduction in our flood insurance. That relates to about $1 million savings for our residents, and we do that on a regular basis. We also go after a lot of grants. These are grants that we've obtained through flood mitigation assistance for home elevations. When I started here, we had about 1,600 homes that needed to be elevated. We're now down to about 600 of those homes. So we're moving that. The goal is to get that number to 0. So we go after those grants on an annual basis, and we do workshops with those eligible to get them involved. That's a great partner that we have through NJOEM. Like OEM has been a great partner with that. But also, looking at other fundings through Congressman Van Drew's office, we were able to obtain a federal appropriation to build a bulkhead at one of our largest parks in Beach Haven West called Mill Creek. I mentioned that plan. DEP-funded our Resilient Stafford plan. That has helped us obtain a lot of these grants because we identified those projects that we needed funding to be able to go out and get those things for. And then, like I mentioned, also working with other organizations. Right now, we're working with Drexel University. This is the team out in Drexel They're out there measuring a tide gauge. This is the tide gauge we got $5,000 for. We're measuring sea level rise, and we utilize that information when we go after other grant funds. The other thing I will mention, just to kind of tie everything up, part of this is involving the community. This is a project that's west of where our flood zone is at. But we also look at, when we look at projects, to make them all inclusive. And that includes including the community. So this is a project we had to work on with Pinelands. This is actually a basin. A lot of people in the township refer to it as Forecastle Lake. It's actually a basin. But we put a pathway around it. When we did it, the idea was to incorporate nature with stormwater to provide an educational resource, but also a recreational activity, which would allow everyone to be able to use it. So anyone that's in a wheelchair, we made this all ADA accessible. It's all paved pathway. We had to get special permission from Pinelands to do that. We're constantly looking for those partners to be able to do that. And I think that's what makes Stafford a great place, is being able to pull all those folks together.
Yeah. Well, Matt, and I know you gave this talk at the Coastal Coalition meeting back in October. I know it was well received then. I'm hoping it's well received now on our Tidal Flooding Talk as we open it up to the world. So thanks a lot. And listen, that's great. You're getting all these grants to help mitigate, against, storms and just, the tide coming in here in Stafford. So we appreciate that. We're going to take our last break here. We'll come back and we'll wrap it on up with Matt on Tidal Flooding.
Thanks to the New Jersey Coastal Coalition, your flood insurance bills are lower and your streets safer from the reality of flooding. Since beginning in 2013, we build more resilient shoreline communities. Our member towns develop and share in best practices that anticipate future concerns and create flooding solutions. From our town-specific free web app for flooding information to our weekly Tidal Flooding Talk show, we focus on flooding 24/7. Visit www.njcoastalcoalition.com for more.
Hello and welcome back. You are watching Tidal Flooding Talk. We are brought to you by the New Jersey Coastal Coalition, and we would like to remind our viewers that your community's rating matters. Communities that participate in the Community Rating System, CRS, can earn flood insurance discounts for residents. Ask your local officials what your town is doing and how you can help.
And Matt, we are back with you here. And being in Stafford, you're actually one of our early adopters on the Coastal Coalition side of our new web app that we have. And, for everybody listening, if you're in Jersey and you're a Coastal Coalition town, talk to your elected officials about joining the about signing up for the web app. If you're not in the coalition and you're interested, talk to your elected officials and about getting into the New Jersey Coastal Coalition. It's free for the towns, and the web app that Matt's going to talk about is free to it's public and the users as well. I just want to say this before I let you get into this, Matt. There's two components to this. There's a dashboard, which is a website best viewed on a computer or a tablet that brings a lot of information into one place. And then there's a messaging platform that will give you automated, whether through phone, text, or email, weather alerts from the National Weather Service and customized messages from Stafford. So just wanted to say that. But Matt, floor is yours.
No, Joe, I think you hit the nail on the head, and Joe and Tom Quirk have been awesome in helping to implement this app. This is a grant application that I assisted on probably almost 8 years ago, and it's come to fruition, and it's really nice to see it play out and be incorporated with other municipalities. The goal of the app is essentially to be able to provide another measure to educate your residents on, what the weather is, what the emergency is, and essentially when you cannot go back to your home that's in a flood zone. And to be able to do that, especially with today's technology, and to be able to work with the Coastal Coalition to do that for free, I found, working with Tom Quirk for the last probably close to 10 years, Tom is a great asset in bringing people together. So to bring, like Joe's experience, the web app company's experience, and to be able to do that for free because you're a working partner within the Coastal Coalition, that's the real asset to being involved. While I've been here in Stafford Township, I mentioned that tide gauge that we're working with Drexel. that was a grant that we worked on with the Coastal Coalition to get funding through Manasquan Bank that helped to fund that tide gauge. We have a weather station here at Town Hall that's been up for about 3 years now. That was another grant that we worked together with Tom and Coastal Coalition to get through Manasquan Bank, and in conjunction with the New Jersey Mesonet system and with Save Barnegat Bay, who's a big proponent of that. That doesn't happen without Coastal Coalition, having that nonprofit status and opening up opportunities like that and like the app. That's a main function of that, besides the work that gets done with the Program for Public Information, the PPIs that the Coastal Coalition has set up. It's really looking to provide that information, but then also providing opportunities, which is the best reason to be involved with it.
Yeah. And, our Geo Collaborate, that's the company who made this web app for us. We had actually a Tidal Flooding Talk with them, Matt, Dave Jones, and Ellen Prager. So we had them, and everyone can check that out too. We are almost out of time. I can't believe it. But we're going to end, as we do every week, with the one thing we can't stop talking about: tidal flooding or otherwise. Palma, I'll start with you. We got 2 minutes left. No?
Don't start with me, no.
I was going to, ladies first. No? All right. Dan, it's you then.
Well, I'm in Punta Cana as this is playing. We recorded this a week or two earlier, so I hope I'm having a great time and great weather. I hope I'm not missing snowstorms back home, and I hope I get to come home and my Patriots are still alive and on the march towards the Super Bowl. I think we get to the AFC Championship game. I don't think we get to the Super Bowl this year, but those are my hopes. And that's
all right. Well, listen, I told you Patriots, I think, are winning the Super Bowl this year. I'm not a Patriots fan, but I just want to leave it out there. All right. My thing is, hopefully by the time everyone is listening to this huge mess that is like right here is gone, because there was a lot of boxes and microphones and even some leftover Christmas stuff. So that's my hope here over the next couple of weeks. All right, how about now, Palma?
All right. So what are your thoughts? Is Valentine's Day a holiday, or is it?
Yeah, it's a holiday. I mean, yeah, I would say so.
Well, some people say it's like a silly holiday and you should just always
I don't like
another.
Yeah, I don't like the obligation. I'd rather just be romantic throughout the year. But yeah, obligation.
That's a good, Matt. I feel like you have feelings on this.
No, I'm personally, my opinion on Valentine's Day is I agree. I think it's a holiday, but usually the way my wife and I celebrate it is we either go the weekend before or the weekend after, because you can't go out on Valentine's Day. So that way, I agree with Dan. It's year round, but it's nice to celebrate it in our own way.
Yep.
I think, like, if you're a new couple, like you're just dating, like you got to do something Valentine's Day weekend. Like,
I agree with that.
That's the tone for like the rest of the relationship,
Yeah. I mean, like, like at some point, just avoid, like, do what Matt does. Do what Matt does. Anyway, how about this, Mac? How about favorite? Is there a preferred Valentine's Day spot in Stafford?
Oh, in Stafford? I mean, we have a lot of great spots to go to. There's a lot of we have the Element, we have Mallard Island, the mainland. There's a lot of great places. We've been very fortunate. We promote economic development here, Joe. I think you've actually come to one of our EDA workshops.
Yes.
We try to promote it actively. So there's a lot of great places here. So definitely come and visit.
And a quick shout out to Manafurkin Brewery. It's on the medal podium for me for favorite breweries in New Jersey.
Awesome. Yep. I think we could go on all night and name different places.
Right. Yeah, we'll just name drop for an episode. So anyway, Matt, thanks so much for being on here. Appreciate you staying here with us later in the evening. We really appreciate it. Hope to have you again soon. In the meanwhile, we'll see you at a New Jersey Coastal Coalition meeting. And we thank everyone for listening to this episode of Tidal Flooding Talk. Take care, everybody.